So the purpose of this video is basically to go over low volume nodes and how value shifts lower and how you can use these zones for areas to go see, and you want to kind of keep bias with these levels. So this is May 11th, yeah, and this is May 12th. So this is May 12th, May 11th. We had a low volume node here. Okay, overnight we traded basically above it, under it, above it, so nothing really changed from this day compared to this day. Basically value stayed pretty much the same. The blue area is value, so it's 70% of the whole day's trading area. So basically nothing shifted here. However, I kept this zone just for, let's say, um, bias purposes. We have a low volume node here. Market closed around that, above that. Overnight we traded above it. We came in, we kind of filtered around it several times and rejected that area and closed below. The next day value was much lower. So the way you got to look at this is, if we have value above today or this day, and we have value here, we're looking to see where the market could stop, because now we have basically a trend where 70% of the volume is decreasing day by day. So that's the first day where it's overlapping to same and then overlapping lower. So that's what I would do. And then we have these single prints that very well defined an area of trade where, the market really did bounce off of it very clearly, rejected it. So I'm going to go through this the exact way I look at the markets, just on a market profile and volume profile basis. So here we had value overlapping lower, and if we were looking at shorts, we would say this area this day is the low volume node. So it got rejected here, we rejected that one, we rejected that volume node and closed above, below it. So it's still bearish here, right? Again, the close here is bearish, but overnight and the next day things could change, right? So we had a close here below that zone, and overnight we basically traded much, below that zone very clearly. And then we have value here, not a huge change, still overlapping to lower, but we closed above that zone from the previous day, right? So now the way I would look at it is, in the overnight trade, if we had low volume here, lower value, right, compared to this day, which is pretty much either overlapping to lower, and we closed above, now the whole thing is, are we going to get a new trend up? That's the whole point here. Now, 14th of May, I'm saying here, low volume node up. I want to see price, the market trade above this area to keep a long bias. You get it? So value was lower, but now the next day, now this is really on a 30-minute time frame, as you can see. If we're going to say that this level, the 14th, yeah, this level is going to hold overnight. We opened very close to it, right? We opened in the previous day's range, but above that area. So the open is actually, just going to show it to you here. So it's still tricky because we're not here, right? So that's the open right there, the yellow line. Basically, again, market opens there. What we want is, if we're going to be basically bullish, we want prices to be above this green zone, right? That's exactly the zone that we had defined, right? And this is where when we had um, the day there, the single print basically, we still couldn't close, and basically we rejected that zone in the overnight here, closed above it, so we closed above that red zone, and we had this low volume node here, right, that started the move up. So this green is where you want to see buyers hold, and you want to close the market above this zone. So basically we want to reject this previous low volume node. The way I see low volume nodes is we want low volume nodes to be rejected when we're going down, and we want low volume nodes to hold when we're going up. So buyers, bulls want to have these low volume nodes to basically hold as we go up. And basically in this day, you could also see that the low volume node here in the day was held. This one was held several times. So the way I'm going to put this is I would basically cut this off right here, and then cut this one off right here. So we're going on a day by day basis, right? We know that this low volume node here, the last one, just under the teapot generally is a good spot to recognize an area. If you see a low volume node just under the teapot, the time point of control. So let's say from now on, for the next day, we want to see prices above this area, right? That's why I put it in like a light green kind of. So I'm just going to label it as well. 15th of May, low volume node. I'm just putting it up. So basically, that's where market started going up, right? And very clearly, we did generally trade above it overnight, so that's perfect. The first sign of scare, let's say, for a market like this would be um, we, we close above this overnight, we trade much above it. So again, that's a good area to come back and retest if ever the overnight we would retest it. So nothing to be scared of. Overnight, we're still bullish. So market value is up, the next day value is still up. Nothing to really worry about. These red areas are basically previous low volume nodes that we had on May 5th, 12th, and 11th. So I just kept them there just to show you guys how these levels kind of like, we need to beat them one by one, right? So that one has to be converting to support. This one needs to be converting to support. And this market is just basically still bullish, right? So the first signal of, let's say, this this day this day the market opens here, we basically the first signal will be, okay, if ever we start trading below this low volume node from the overnight, that was very, very obvious. We came in, tested it, no worries, buyers were still in command. You get what I mean? This is just a way of like giving you like the first sign of like, let's say, weakness that would happen in case the open here was a bit scary. So value is up overnight, we trade above that zone again, nothing to worry about. And next day, where do we close? Very tricky, but look, all we did is value is here, value is up, we closed right in that zone overnight, we rejected that again, the bull trend is still up. The scary thing about this kind of day is value is here, so we've got value that's going up, right? 2 days in a row still, for very for a couple of days now. We close up the lows, but this is where sellers might want to come in. Next day, where do we open? Right on it, and we continue going. So basically rejected that area again. Get it? This is a way of like giving you a signal that on May 19th here, in low volume node, down, rejected. I'm just gonna put it like that. So that got rejected. However, now the next day, so I'm just gonna scroll down. So this is June 1st, June 2nd. All right, so this day value is here, value is overlapping to higher, we close above it, right? Nothing scary. Okay, so that was the first area here where, you know, in case we would get any kind of negative momentum, we need sellers to initially close below it, right? They close right on it here that day. The next day we reject that same area, we open above it, and we fly. So NASDAQ gave us a clue that this low volume node here of June 4th, I'm just going to write it down here, 4th of June, low volume node rejected, right? Nothing to worry. Value is lower, value is overlapping to lower, but we still closed up right on that area. This area, you want sellers to take control below this. Sellers to take control below this, right? And buyers came in and boom, forget this low volume node. It never became an important zone. Actually, I'm going to put it this way. I think the most important low volume node this day actually was the one here. The reason why is the market rejected it. 1, 2, 3, 4. So like sellers got, let's say, sellers started getting control below this, right? So every time it rejected this, and the opener is right there. So the next day we open below it, but we trade right. We kind of test lower, but we basically never really went. Again, another good thing to note is that I always like to have the low volume node under the TPOC. The TPOC was right here. That's the low volume node that we rejected the next day as we opened and rejected it, and we started moving up. So I think with NASDAQ, if you have a low volume node that's like basically close to the TPOC, that's the most important zone to really respect. In my humble opinion, I've been noticing this very often. Same thing here. TPOC is here. Where is the low volume node that was rejected? This one right here. Boom. Market spent a lot of time at this price, rejected this low volume node. In the overnight, we rejected that same low volume node. Market opens above it, trades higher, goes lower, rejects. I mean, kind of it was tricky because it did reject it here, but it still started moving higher. So that zone was just a fake out basically, right? And we had this single print as well from that day. Value overlapping to pretty much same, nothing to worry about. Continue going up. I mean, the trend is still to the upside, right? Okay, where is TPOC here? TPOC is here. Where is the closest low volume node? This one here. Where does the overnight trade here? Basically rejects it. We open above that area again, above this one. Nothing to worry. Longs are still in control. It's not complicated, you know. It's just normal concepts of market profile and to really just see the context of the market. So this is June 9th. Value is high. The next day value is up again. So the TPOC was here. The important zone was this one here, right? So the next day, you know that for the overnight and for the next day, basically, this is an important zone, right? Important zone, TPOC, low volume node, continuing up. This is FOMC, June 10th. I even wrote it down here, FOMC breakdown. this is value, the next day value traded lower. So this way you know that the first thing you need to notice is that this day, the teapot, the low volume node was here. So that's why these areas, zones are important. You know, it's generally these same areas for the last 2-3 days that give you good context. I was going over with another trader recently, and you know, we were just discussing all this, and you know, this is how Nasdaq likes to basically trade. And again, look at this one here. We got the teapot here. The closest low volume node is here. Overnight we reject that. The next day we open right on it, and we reject the low volume node that we had the single print here from the 11th of June. And again, at the end of the day, value is still overlapping to lower. You know, I put this on a candlestick chart just to show you guys how these zones, if you're trading with candlesticks, this is a 20-second chart of Nasdaq. I just want to make sure why doesn't it have all the zones. It's probably because it's not connected to the right chart. So this is number 24. This is Sierra charts, by the way. This is the one I use for market profile and all that. So I need to get this right. No, isn't it showing? Oh, it's treason. Yeah, basically the chart starts here in May because I have the profile levels starting from May. Okay, here we are. So 11th of May, that's where the low volume node, and we had a downtrend starting, and it seems like the market is still respecting that level, right? You see? Yeah, so it's pretty obvious, right? And then once it kind of converts that into support, all right, we start going up again. Same levels. I mean, you see, I put how important these levels become. Unbelievable. Look at that. We bounce right off of them. We rejected that one there. Where did it go? So we rejected that. Supported there. Yeah, here we are. 19th of May. Low volume node rejected. Boom. You see? So breakdown, retest, boom. And then where do we find support? The market chops around this low volume node from the previous day, and then you know, it gives you great ranges, gives you great trade areas. You know, market opens above that, boom, and we continue going up. Comes in, never really touches it. This is the day's volume profile, and we continue going. And then, you know, on the same level here, you could do is like, you could say, oh yeah, well, you know, this thing wants to continue. You need this low volume node here to hold. And yeah, we'll hold several times, 1, 2, 3 times, and then we reject it. So come down, reject, and just continue going down. And then find support at the previous low volume node, you know? Same thing here. We had that. Look at this level. In the overnight, that's the next day, sorry. I think I've got only, no, it's evening session is there too. Okay, so same thing. Low volume node, open, low volume node gets basically tested, boom, and retested, and we go. And I like to look at, you know, when the market opens, I like to look at the way I look at the market here. I'm going to show you here. Where did it go? So 9:30 open is what I want. Okay, doesn't want to give it to me. Okay, so the market basically gives us our first swing low and a swing high. right? Swings low, swing high, and then boom, 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 fakes us out. You want to see what buyers are taking control off of this, supported off of it. So it's basically a buyer's market all day long, right? That's how you have to look at that. First swing high and the first swing low. Yeah, I was going to look at the next day here. Yeah, okay. First swing low, first swing high. Just extend it basically. It could kind of, you know, when you get a fake out and then come back and fake out, okay, you know that this is just a buyer's market, you know. And slowly, if you extend it, you see. Okay, so that's all right. What you want now is, let's say, that was the day. We had a low volume node here. Okay, so that's May 25th. I don't know, maybe that was a short day. Maybe not the best day to look at, but and then here, same thing. Okay, the market opens here. Gives us the first swing. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Line. First swing low. Got a first swing high. Generally get a little higher high there, right? And then boom. Okay, seller's market. Sell, sell, sell. The retest. Try to sell that. Retest. Try to sell that. You know, this is a good way to give you like a quick price action feature just to make sure that you're on the right side of it, you know. If you just extend that, basically, I mean, this is just a candle chart, but if you go with the levels, I mean, again, first swing high, so that's the first swing high. The first swing low is actually here, right? So buyers come in once, buyers come in twice, reject, boom, and we're done. This is basically seller's market until later in the afternoon, where boom, you know, very important. Little nuances, but you know, don't forget these things. Okay, so I'm gonna have to put this like that. Okay, so it's so annoying sometimes doing this. So this is June 26th. Swing low, swing high. Man, massive drop. Little consolidation here, right? If you look at the market profile, I want to really make sure you guys see this one. June 26th. Okay, so this is again NASDAQ, right? June 25th, we're here. Lower value compared to previous day. Okay, so previous day's value, the previous day's value is here, June 23rd. Next day we have value here. We have value that's staying pretty much same. Don't just look at price. Price closed above that, could not hold this FOMC breakdown area that I had overnight traded there. Market opens. Where does the market open? Here. Market opens right here. No, sorry, market opens here. Tests that zone and just flushes down. And this is how that same level, if you look at it on a candlestick chart, 20-second candles here. Oh God, what's going on? Alright, so this does not want to collaborate with me here. Okay. Yeah, so basically market opens there, rejects that area and just flushes down. So that becomes a very important area to monitor for the future, because that's where market rejected again. It's that FOMC area that got rejected. This is a low volume node on the 16th of June here. So market, as you can see, I thought market might bounce off of that because these previous zones do become important. And as you can see, we traded lower, came back and kind of traded above that, and then rejected that again. So that was like a good way to know that again we reject a low volume node here. Here we also rejected a low volume node. I put these low volume nodes for next week in my market profile because I know that these areas will most likely be very important to monitor going forward. So I think I should just cut this one here because sorry, maybe no, maybe just keep it for now. But I think these are the ones that really need to be focused. Just gonna put them on black here. This way I know that these are the most important areas for me to focus because I like to do it that way. What we're gonna do also is highlight June 26th. So this is our TPOC. I like to have like the last couple of days TPOCs around 26th of June. TPOC. Boom. There you are. So I know that. And what the market did here is important. I want to see what area did the market reject. Just gonna cut this off here because I don't need that. I believe, honestly, that the market rejected this low volume node. For me, this is really important. Okay, I'm gonna put it here. LVN, important, 26.6. Rejected. So we rejected that. And that's going to be an important level for me because the market's basically spent a lot of time up here. You want to know which one it rejected just close to that area, and I think that was the most important one. I'd like to have this one because we rejected that as well, just to make sure that if we're basically coming, rejecting that, coming, going up, rejecting that, it's still basically sellers in control. It's just my way of monitoring uh, the right auction basically of the market. I'm just going to cut this one as well. It's most likely a zone that's from the past. So that's going to be important. Also, this low volume node here, I want to see basically if we're able to hold below this, because if we start holding below this, good chances that sellers are going to be pushing this lower to this one, and these are from previous zones. So like I like to keep them here because I know that most likely we're gonna have a battle in these zones. We've got a couple of them here, so we can get a decent balances in the NQ in these areas. Okay, we got a single print from here that's extended, so most likely we're gonna come back into this area. All right, but our first thing is to basically trade below this, keep prices below this, come here, maybe bounce off of this one several times, and I think the ultimate goal is to come repair these single prints from not too sure which day, but if they extended like this, it's probably because we never came in to fill them. Good question. Let's see. Where? Oh God, they must go back. What is that? 91.38. 91.38. All right, let's go see. Good. So good, but 91.38. Well, that's okay. So let's move it up. 91.38. Wow, that goes all the way to May, 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 May 17th. 9138 goes all the way to May 17th. So let's do that. Oh, now having an issue with my scaling here. All right, 9138, please. So we were looking at that. Sorry, let's just do that here. So that was a low volume node from a while back. So these could be the ultimate. And then I was just looking at this area here. Man, this is really because NASDAQ has a lot of these poor structures to fill in. 9138. So imagine NASDAQ pulling all the way back to 9138. That would be a tremendous pullback. That's almost 700 points. Okay, 700 points. That's a decent pullback, and definitely would be a good area to look for longs. But I mean, we have to really go step by step because I think we're gonna have a good chop in this area. It's a good 9606 to 9694. We've got a 94-point range here that could chop around for us coming up in the next couple of days. Basically, that same area that started the move up here on the 16th of June has failed. So it's like that 10-day move up from this area, as NQ did go all the way to like 10,200 something. We've basically lost all that, but we've come to another support area from previous. Let's clear around the profile here. So we've come back to this FOMC low volume node here on 11th of June, and if we support here, I think this could be a decent pullback. However, I still think if market trades lower than this area, ultimate goal is to come around this 9,600, 9,692, this zone we have here. That could be good for, you know, a nice bounce, because we could play around these levels then. It could be 98.50 to 96.50 kind of, you know. It could be a 200-point bounce around here. All right, so that's a decent analysis on market profile and volume profile here for NQ. If we look at ES, I just want to see, you know, we've had this, basically, the way I look at the market here is we had this move down, right? So if we do it that way, this move down started here, right? It started on this day, which is June 23rd, where we had value here. The first day where we had value lower was this day, okay? So this just means that now with value going lower, there were probably important nuances in this day that gave us a good clue, right? So let's analyze this day, okay? June 23rd. Okay, so I basically open new charts and we're basically going to go through them together, right? First thing I do is, like I said, I think I like to have last couple of days TPOCs, especially the TPOC that has at least 9 wide is very important, okay? 9 wide means it's a prominent TPOC, and it's a TPOC that basically was very important. What day is that again? 23rd, 6, TPOC, okay? Now, same thing here. What do we want to know? We want to see where did the market reject from a low volume node here, okay? And yes, we got the tail there, but I don't think that tail is the most important thing. I think the most important thing is to know where did the market reject close to the TPOC, okay? The most traded price. It was tough because you have basically a low volume node here. So I'm going to put that, just to put that in perspective, low white here, okay, a low volume node here, okay, and you basically had a low volume node here, okay. Market closed towards its lows. Where it closes towards its lows isn't all that important that day. However, overnight comes in, and basically, if you look at the M probe we had here, okay, so you can just basically do a line here. Okay, let's just do it like that. This is M period, okay. The M period is important because if it did a probe, meaning if it went and did a new low in M period, it's important to keep M period in perspective. So that is an area to look at. So market opens, rejects, trades a bit above that and closes lower. So that's already a sign, a signal that, when you get those kind of days and the market, where is the open here? Why isn't it? Anyway, it's weird, but my open is here. So that's our open. I like to put the open in yellow. So, all right, there we go. That's where the market opens. And again, I think I mentioned this before, but the first signal of weakness is we open and we reject a low volume node that was important from the overnight. Okay, I'm just going to cut this here. That's important. Boom. That was a good way to just, make sure that you saw that context coming from the overnight. So now we have this day. Market is basically trading lower with lower value. This is where value is this day. Okay. Now let's just do the same thing. We've got the TPOC. Six. Where is the lowest volume node here? I think that's low high volume node, high volume node. I mean, TPOC is right at a low volume node here, so that's pretty straight. We had this single prints from this area here. Okay. Market closed above it, so you want to monitor continuation. Did we get continuation here? No, we did not get continuation. So basically, lower value, market closes above. Do we get continuation in the overnight? No, we fail. Again, context is very important. As you can see, yes, we had a market that closed above. It was just a short squeeze basically, and the TPOC was pretty much at the same level, right? But I think the most important thing was this area here. You want this to hold, right? I'm just gonna put it like this. So 25th of June, single print. It's not rejected, it failed, right? Market failed at this level. So that was an important level. Coming into today, where does the market open today? Let's just see that again. In the auction, the market opens here. That's where the market opened. So I'll put that like that for now. The market opened there. What did it do? Comes into the overnight. A low volume node here. I mean, this whole area, if we were to expand this a bit, this whole area rejected right? We rejected that area. That was important. For bulls wanted to take the control from the compared to the previous day, we opened in previous day's range, but this is very important, and we failed there again. So already we're getting signals that this market is weak. So that's the most recent activity here on ES. And if you look at this TPOC from which day is this? Okay, so this is June 26. Let's just put that there. June 26, TPOC. There we go. All right. What do we want ES to do if shorts are still going to be in control for the next day? Very, very clear. What is the most important TPOC? What is the most important low volume node that got rejected here? I think this one here is going to be important. Okay. This one here is going to be important. We close lower than that. And I think just to put things in perspective, this one here for now. So going forward, I'm just going to have these areas now. Okay. If market is weak, opening below this, this is very weak. Below this, we could come retest this, we could chop around this in the overnight. Most likely, if we open in this range, I'd say look for a breakout of here and come back to retest this area. And we could still basically float around this area. And that would be a bit tricky, honestly. The best open would be just to open below this and just continue going lower. As we discussed it with the NASDAQ, and if the NASDAQ does the same thing, I think both markets will pretty much trade the same way. So that's the context here. I mean, if you look at how ES has, basically rejected this area just above the TPOC. This is already good clues to, keep forward for the next several days, probably Monday. So that was a single print again, and it's also a TPOC coming over from 24th. So we rejected, areas where the market spent a lot of time in the last couple of days, Same thing here, we rejected that again. I mean, these same areas got basically come, like this was very clear today. Reject that, and I rejected this one from the 25th of June. And then, I mean, the single print occurred, and we never even came back to retest it. It's actually also a TPOC from the 24th of June. So we reject all this, means that we want to explore prices to the downside. That's what it means. That's not what I want to do. So very clear on ES. So this is the Russell. Just wanted to show you guys how Russell is so technically traded well with Market Profile. Unbelievable. I mean, if you look at this thing, okay, that's the TPOC. I mean, I won't be able to cover all of it, but I mean, let's just look at it, right? It comes and rejects the TPOC so clearly. This is the overnight that rejects that TPOC, okay? If you watch the Russell trade this way, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It really, I mean, trades like fairly technical when it comes to Market Profile. Okay, so let's just spot these TPOCs for now, and then we'll look at them after. Let's just copy that one. So fairly two close TPOCs here, right? That's 24th of June, 25th of June, and then we have 26th of June. All right, I just want to go back to this day here. The first day where we had overlapping higher value compared to 22nd. This is 23rd. Let's expand the 23rd here. It's going to be very clear. In the overnight, failed at the TPOC from previous day. All right, and then boom. This day, this teapot is important, this price here. And then I would have basically wanted to see if this was going to hold, this low volume node. Okay, so that's 23rd, reject, down, I'm just gonna put it down like that. So that's an area that got rejected. So that was a previous good zone maybe to look at, to really look into the next day if we kind of trade below that, you know, if we get weakness below that, you know. Never really happened overnight because we just basically rejected the T-bonk, time point of control, several times, okay? And then we created this single print that never even got tested. So I'm gonna put it here. That's a single print coming from June 23rd. 23rd, single print. Okay, so that's gonna be an important level, okay? This is also a single print that basically never got tested. Wow, that's crazy. So this was, this was really important. Single print market is not even coming to retest that. So sometimes the Russell is a good indication of weakness in the overall market. Okay, always try to look at the Russell from time to time to give you a good clue of what the market's doing. Okay, this day, sorry, I'm just gonna put it this way here. Okay, oops, that's not what I have to do. Anyway, okay. Value is here, overlapping pretty much the same, closed much above it. That's not really important again because value is unchanged. This is what's important. This single print got basically tested several times, okay, and we managed to trade much below it and sellers to control. The next day opened below it, tested it, and failed. That's an important nuance. Same thing with this single print, okay? I'm putting this single print for now because I think that going forward, 25th of 6, single print, alright, and then going forward, these are going to be important zones to keep track of. Alright, so let's just erase that. Coming to the 26th, I want to make sure that this prominent teapot is mentioned here. Alright, so this is our teapot from the 26th. Oops, 26th teapot. Alright, now that day, just below it, what happened or above it, I think the most important area here is this low volume node, okay? This is the most important thing for me. If we continue rejecting this low volume node, okay, this is going to be an important thing. Reject, okay. If we reject this low volume node in the overnight session, you know, this could lead to more downside. I'm looking at the close here again, overlapping lower value, which is important. But this low volume node here, it's gonna put it for now. Just want to see how we react to it. At lows, okay, so important for that. What makes a good nuance in the market profile is when we have, do I have a good example here? Good. Well, these are type of days where you want to always monitor. Okay, so we had, this is May 18th, value was here. The next day value was here. That's not exactly what I wanted to look at, sorry. I wanted to look at an example here that I had seen. Where is it? All right, here. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so we had value that was high here on the 12th of May, lower here, and overlapping lower, right? This is where you want to see a change come in, okay? If we have overlapping lower, sorry, and you know, our TPOC is right here, okay? Very clear. Okay, so I'm gonna just jot it down for now, which is this 14th of May. If I don't put them now, later on when we advance, we're gonna be like, where did this come from, right? So we had low value, and the market closed higher. Not important because the close isn't important in this case because we still have value that's overlapping lower. But the next day, which is important, we open here, okay? So if buyers wanted to take the control for this day, compared to this previous day, where do you want buyers to take control? You want buyers to be taking control above this area, right? Because that's where the market closed above that single print, okay? And also gave us a good indication of the auction for the overnight, because the overnight, we came above it, it was still, we're trading mostly above it, and then after that, the market seems to collapse after opens lower, but again, opens in the previous day's range, which is okay, no imbalance there. But the fact that we open lower, test the previous day's TPOC, and actually trade above this zone from the previous day, that's very bullish. So you know that that's the first day where we have a reversal in the market. Buyers are in control. Overnight, nothing to worry. Buyers are still in control. You get it? So the first initial period where you get a lower value or some kind of a change in value is important. Okay, let's see what happens. It's really a day-to-day basis, right? Look, TPOC is here. Overnight, we trade above it many times. These are single prints from a previous time, and it seems like we reject that once and reject that twice. We reject it a couple of times, you see? We reject it here, so that looks like a very important 1352 area. So very technical when it comes to Russell. Value is here, May 18th, May 19th, value is still trading pretty much the same. Nothing that changed, even though market closes below it, nothing scary. Above, market is still trading value higher, value unchanged, right? We're getting these pushes down, but in price, but it's just basically longs liquidating. It's nothing, it's not a change in the auction structure or the trend of what's going on, basically. And then, okay, so I'm just gonna go a bit faster here because we can see that value is still going up, just for an example, look at this day. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. It was this day. Yeah, it was a short day, so maybe that's not the best example, but look at this one. Look at how market treats this TPOC, closes higher, so it rejects this low volume node. You see, very clear, very clear patterns in the Russell sometimes. I don't trade it often, but the market profile and the volume profile structure, it gives you very good clues. Now, the first day where you get a change in value. So here's our value. Value is still trading higher, and the first day we get lower value. All right. So now we got low value here. Important to know what's going on. We got lower value here. Okay, previous day's TPOC is here. Okay, the first day we get lower value. If we trade with higher value after, we just want to make sure the first initial breakdown is still holding. So that's a TPOC from 28th of May. Let's drop that down. 28th of May. TPOC. All right. So if you look at this day, May 29th, if you're a seller and we're in the overnight and we're basically holding above TPOC several times, that makes you a bit scared. Honestly, I don't like that. I would not like that as a seller, and I think opening above and then, you know, basically rejecting, what do we, okay, this is like a little, very small low volume node here, but you see we rejected that low volume node again. Maybe even this one would have been important, but anyway, we're going to just cut them right off here just to not interfere for future. And look how the market in that overnight comes back and retests it, and you know, it doesn't really, the buyers are still in control. Okay, we go up, we test a low volume node, and this is an important area because this is the first day we had lower value, and these low volume nodes, if I'm a buyer, I want these low volume nodes to be support. And in the overnight here, we flush down, we trade back up, you know, we traded into these areas several times, and we couldn't really close, sellers couldn't get any traction below this. So that's important. Sellers are not in control in this overnight. Sellers are not in control this day. The next day, sellers are still not in control because our TPOC is here. Okay. And the next day we kind of trade below it several times. But if you look at the overnight, we had this low volume node in the overnight here. And I think coming from this previous day, I would say that this low volume node here, okay, uh, it comes with the previous day's high here, this low volume node, okay? This is important. If you get rejections at these very key areas here, and you know, value never really changed from this day to day, look, although the trend is still on, buyers are still all over this. Look how in this overnight we reject this previous TPOC from the 28th of May several times, you know, and then the next day we come back and retest that same area and hold it. Unbelievable. The market really has a great memory of these areas, and it just trades phenomenally. So I want to get to an area where we get a change in value. Okay, value is above, value is lower, and now we have new information that just came into the market. What's going on? Okay, value is above, lower value comes, opens, and what do we reject? So clear. We reject the TPOC. That's important. So we're rejecting this TPOC from June 9th. Okay, that was already a good signal because June 9th was the day before FOMC, and FOMC is this day. So we rejected that, right? Closed lower overnight. No intentions to even come back and retest this. The overnight, this low volume node just basically held, and boom, we just went lower. I'm just gonna put this here. This is 10th of June. FOMC LVN rejected. Okay. Important because I think going forward, these same areas have been, this FOMC day basically has become very important for the market. This is June 10th, FOMC, TikTok, right? Because now I'm going to show it to you. Like I said, important details are in, okay, we had value lower, still lower, and the next day we have a value going higher compared to this day. So if you're a bull, if you have this first day where value is higher, you want to make sure that first of all your TPOC is respected, which is here. Market closed above it, so this low volume node held several times, so that's important. What is this? This is 15th of June, LVL held upside. Maybe I should put the color in also. Okay, held there, you know. So the bullish perspective is still on. We're June 16th here, and just gonna look at that. Okay, so that June 16th held there, coming into June 17th. Man, look at that. Trade below it, holding, still holding, nothing. Wow, that was a very important day. And seems like June 19th we come back and test it again, and wow, unbelievable. You see, same areas come into play very many times. Now, June 24th. All right. Okay, so let's do it this way. Just want to show it to you guys because every market did pretty much the same thing. June 23rd, value is here, value is lower. Now, do we get a continuation to the downside? That's what's important, right? Lower value. So these are our TPOCs that I had put, right? And let's extend. Lower value. Next day value is still pretty much unchanged. You see how important this is. The TPOCs are there. If I was a bull, what do I want? I want this level to hold, right? Because the market closed above. It chopped around there several times, spent time there, and never really was able to maintain that level, right? And the next day we open, we test that level and fail. Important nuance. So going forward, what we're going to do is we're going to have to pay attention to the same level. There, we have a single print here, and our prominent TPOC is here. So that's going to be very important. I think we also have a TPOC that was in this area in the past. So, look, we're rejecting these zones that the market had spent a lot of time. So that's context to say that market looks like it wants to explore lower prices, right? Nothing really complicated. Look, we rejected this TPOC, okay, that day. That was already a signal. The next day we couldn't really close above it, and then we test this single print here. Very, very, like, I have to say that the market, the Russell trades very technically clean, very clean, very technical. Opens, tests that area, and just trades lower. So this is the kind of analysis you can do with the market profile and also the volume profile. So I wanted to spend some time myself with this stuff, and it's good to, you know, analyze what changed compared to the previous day. So we had value here, we're trading with value that's lower, or if we get continuation, that means that sellers are really in control, and you just want to, you know, monitor from day to day what's going on. And most of the time these markets do trade pretty much well in correlation when it comes to the profile, and that's these are key things to always keep track of.